Hello, my name is Lisa Bush, and I'd like to welcome you to the Affordable Integrated Municipal Software webinar. Right now, you should be looking at my desktop. I've got everybody on mute. However, if you do have questions throughout the presentation, you can take yourself off mute, or you can send me a chat message. And at the very end, I'll stay on to answer any questions that anybody has. So, like I said, welcome to the webinar. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's first take a look at what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about USTI's integrated solution. With our solution, there are no workarounds. We give you the ability to post in detail. We've got over 30 different integrated products so that as you're in your accounting system, you can see detail of employees paid and customers that were billed, even receipts at the counter in the accounting system. We are able to automate your entire organization. You can do this on your time frame. You don't have to do everything at once. We're going to spend the first part of the meeting talking about our true fund accounting solution. What you're going to see is designed specifically for local government. We have a lot of accounts on this call today that are using QuickBooks. With our solution, all of your funds are all in one integrated database. You're going to be able to get line item budgeting so you'll know at any point funds available. You can even set it up to get to give you a warning if you're paying your bills and you're over your budget, or even stop you. The second part of the presentation, we're going to talk about our integrated utility billing solution. This solution allows you to bill for unlimited metered, non-metered, and non-recurring charges. It is a true cycle billing, and what I mean by that is you can bill all your customers the same time of the month. However, if you've got customers that move in or move out mid-cycle, we can automatically prorate those charges. Or if you do have different cycles, we handle that too. We're going to talk about using technology such as emailing utility bills, payments on your website, payments at the counter. So we'll be able to see how this all works together. We're going to also talk about the benefits of having one database of names and addresses at your municipality. Think about how nice it would be if one of your constituents calls. You look them up, and on one screen, you can see everything about that person. You can see their utility account. You can see their tax bill, their building permit, their code violation, just by knowing their name. We even have the ability to bring in all the balances. So if they have one check at the counter, you've got all their balances. The exact same view by address. So for one particular piece of property and community, you can see the utility account, the tax bill. Are there any code violations at that address, or building permits, or business license? So the benefits of having that one integrated database. At the very end, we're going to talk about our new report designer. We give you the ability to create your own reports. You have access to all of the data fields. You can literally pick and choose or drag and drop fields to create any type of report or any type of file. So that's what we're going to cover today. Once again, here's my contact information. I'll come back to this at the very end. If you have questions after the demo, or if you want to call me or email me, feel free to do so. But let's go ahead and take a look at the software. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the asyst screen. As I mentioned earlier, we have over 30 different integrated products. We're going to spend the first part of today looking at our financials, and that happens to be the dollar sign. So this is the area. Even within this area, you can pick and choose which products that you want to automate. You don't have to select all areas. The look and feel of everything you're going to see today is the same. The way our menus are set up. So things that you do daily, they're under the daily tab. Things that you might do once a month or once a year, we're going to group those activities under the periodic tab. And it's true for all of our products. Each product is going to have a tab for reports. On our reports, we give you access to unlimited history. So if you've been using our system for 10 years, you can go back and print that financial statement. We're not going to force you to get rid of that history. All of our reports you can email, you can go to Word or go to Excel or even create a PDF. It's just like a Microsoft product. We're going to spend time looking at the inquiries. We're going to search history and keep in mind all of your funds are in this one accounting database. So we'll look at the different inquiries, and the very last tab is something called tables. And this is where you get started. This is where you define your specific information. So as an example, in the general ledger, this is where you set up your chart of accounts so that it works the way you need it to. As I mentioned earlier, the general ledger is the heart of the system. Everything feeds into the GL. The only time that you're going to do a journal entry, you might use this for beginning balances or adjusting entries, or any time that you just need to debit and credit, you'll go to this screen. But keep in mind, everything coming over from payroll and utilities and courts, we're going to create those entries for you. Now, if you look at our toolbar, it's like any other Microsoft. Navigation's identical, so it's easy to move around in the software. Let's say you have a question. Within the software, you can hit the telephone and electronically submit a support call. We know exactly what product, we know the menu. Tell us the question and let us know your preference. Do you want a phone call or an email? So it's that easy to get help. You're not having to stop what you're doing. So as I mentioned, this is where you do your journals. We're going to make sure debits and credits equal. We're not going to let you get out of balance. Even if you're doing a journal that's crossing funds, we're going to make sure you're in balance. We do give you the ability to post to any period. So here it is, May 14th. If I need to post this journal back to November, I've got the ability to do that. Now, I can also lock down that month where I can't post to it, but you're in the driver's seat. You pick and choose which periods you want to post to. We have the exact same flexibility on opening a year, closing a fiscal year. We know how important it is for you to move into the new year, but you still need to do financial statements, but your auditors haven't been on site yet. With our solution, you can close the year, but then you can reopen it again as many times as you need to. Now, for some of our accounts, they need to track grants and funds that span multiple years. We give you the ability, if you want to track those, to set up certain projects that you can track with different tasks and different categories. And the difference is you're not having to code it into your chart of accounts. It's kind of a side project that you've created, but it can last as long as you want it to. It could be something as simple as a weekend fair you want to track costs for, or maybe a big grant where you need to track that to get reimbursed. So it's a nice way to track those side things that you need to do. If you notice up here, there's something called recurring. In this setup, you can set up those templates for those entries that you do all the time. So you just select it and post it, or maybe make minor changes. We have that feature available in accounts payable and purchase orders as well. So it's great for those things that you don't have to remember the accounting, you just select it and maybe make some adjustments. Now, with our solution, you can look at things before you post. You can look at things after you post. As an example, let's say I want to look at what happened in, let's say, our utility system. And I could be very specific at date range, a certain period, but I'm able to see how those entries got created and posted into the GL. I didn't have to do this. It's an integrated solution, but I can still look at it. And as I mentioned earlier, all of the reports you can print to the screen, you can email, you can go to Word or Excel. So that's true for all the reports, just like a Microsoft product. So easy to do. Now, under periodic, some key things you're going to do here. One is create your budget. We know how important it is to have that budget and stay within your budget. A lot of our clients like to use Budget Excellence because it allows them to export their history to Excel so that they can use Excel to create their new budget. So let's go ahead and create this worksheet. And I can be, certain types of accounts, or which fiscal period do I want to look at. I can export out multiple years if I want to, but I'm going to be able to have historical information that I can use to create my new budget. So in just a second, we're going to have the message, do you want to go back to the accounting software or do you want to go to Excel? And I'm going to say, we're going to go to Excel. And in just a second, it's going to create this worksheet. And I am now in Excel, and I chose all my accounts for all of my funds, but I've got historical information. I've got some good information that I can use to create my new budget. The nice thing is you're going to use this tool. You're going to be able to come up with the final budget, but whatever the final approved column is, we import it into the accounting software. You're not having to rekey that in, and you can even add accounts and import those, but once it's in, we're going to track it. We're going to track it on your financial statements. You're going to know by account number what funds are available. We're going to track it as you pay your bills. Do you want a warning if you're over budget? Do you want it to stop you? So as you have inquiries and you run reports, you're going to know that budget availability. Now, if you don't want to use Excel, that's okay too. We have budget worksheets, and you can simply just key in your final budget, but once it's in, we're going to track it the exact same way. Now, we have some clients that need to track changes to their budget after they've approved it. And we have the ability to track those changes to the budget and why you changed it. So you can run reports for the original budget. We also track the revised budget. I even have a report that I can run for a range of years and see by account number, what did I budget? What was the actual? Show me any revisions so I can see, are there any trends that I can track? So very easy to do to track that information. Now, but like I said, it's totally up to you. As I mentioned, we have this wizard so that you can very easily close the year, but you can also reopen the year. So it's easy to do. It's like opening a door, closing a door. We also have an easy way to reverse something. If you make a mistake and you need to reverse it and you know the transaction number, just type it in. You may not know it. I can right click the mouse and search. Well, what do I know? Do I know where did it come from? Do I know a dollar amount? Do I know a date range? I'm going to say in this example, I want to reverse something that happened in payroll, and that's all I know. So I'm kind of looking for a needle in a haystack, but I can search. I'll grab this entry, and if this is the one that I want to reverse, I simply hit post. The system makes the offsetting entry. There's a complete audit trail. So really easy to track. You put it on one way, you reversed it, but you didn't have to manually back things out. So it is easy if you do make a mistake. Now, reports. These reports come standard. As I mentioned earlier, you've got unlimited history. So if I want to go back 10 years ago, I can do that. I'll point out some that you'll probably want to use for your board meeting. One is definitely the statement of revenues and expenditures. So you can run this report and you can decide, do you want to, is it the original budget or the revised? Do you want to have a previous year comparison? Do you want to know what happened last year? So that's a yes or no. Do you want to see the budget by percentage or dollar amounts? What's your preference? I can run this for any year. I can pull out any period. And then down below, I can decide, well, maybe I only want to see this for one of my funds, or maybe I only want to see this for a certain department or a range of account numbers. So we're all in one accounting system, but I can report on all my funds. Now, if I leave it blank, it's going to sort by fund. That's the highest level. Let's say in this example, I only want to look at the general fund. So I can pull just that out. And I'm going to subtotal by department. And in this example, I'm going to have a report that I can take to the board. They can see the revenues, they can see the expenditures, they can get that line item budgeting and know what's available. And like I said, if I wanted another comparison year in there, I could have that. But here's the information for that point. I can email it to the group, or I can go to Word or Excel or create a PDF, but you're able to create this very easily. Now, we have some clients that they want to have an integrated purchase order. They want to know not only what did we budget, what have we spent, but are there any outstanding purchase orders? A better balance, a better availability of that budget. So if you want that or you need that capability, we do have a purchase order module. It encumbers the funds. Everything flows to AP, but this will give you a better feel for what money is available on this particular expenditure report. Now, we can do things like you might want to do a balance sheet for just one fund. I might want to do a combining balance sheet for all funds, or maybe a range of funds. So once again, all in one place, I'm able to see this information. You can do trial balances, very easy. You've got historical budget reports that you can run for a range of years and see by account number, what did you budget? What changes to the budget? And what was the actual? So as you do your budgeting, you can see, are there any trends? Now, for most of our customers, these financial statements, it gets them what they need to run their organization. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we're going to look at the report designer. So you can report on any data field. So you can create any type of financial or file that you may want to create. So it just totally opens that up for all the financials. Now, let's take a look at inquiries. As I mentioned, lots of good ways to search. One example is maybe I want to look up something and the only thing I know is that it's $25. I don't know when it happened. I don't know where it came from. Did it come from courts or utilities or business license or payroll? I can kind of look in it, or I could narrow that down to a description or a date range or even like a reference number, but lots of ways to search. Now, once I find that, I can see here's the accounting that was created. I can also see that it started out in accounts payable. I can go and look at the detail. Show me the detailed information on the invoice, the PO. I can drill down and actually see the status of the check. And if I've attached that invoice or that approval, I can double click and I can actually see that attachment. We give you the ability to attach things as you pay them. You're no longer filing. All the information stays with the accounting record. So very easy to do if you want that attachment. Most of our products have that capability. But that gives you an example of drilling down to get detailed information. Let's look at another example. Here's one where maybe I want to look up an account and I know it's a revenue account, and maybe I know it's in Fund 2. I'm going to limit that search. Now, I could know more and enter in the exact number, but I'm going to search, and I'm going to bring up my account that I use to do my utility billing. So here it is for this year. I could go back and look at any year just by changing the date. I can print reports, like show me in summary what went in and out of this account, or show me detail, and I can see detailed information for this particular account. You could pick any account and see what went in and out of this for that year. So very easy to do. If I want to know more, though, I can drill down, and in this example, I'm going to go to February. Show me more information. And I can see that I did one billing in February, and I can see the journal. So a lot of systems, if you've got two that work together, might create this for you. We take it a step further. We're going to show you the detail. Show me the detailed customers that make up that journal. How did we break out the water, sewer, trash, tax? It all happened in the utility application, but I can see that detail in the accounting system. So that's true for payroll and other areas that post into the general ledger if you post in detail, and most people like to do that. Now, let's look at another inquiry. Here's one, especially if you're coming from QuickBooks. You're going to be able to see on one screen all of your funds. Now, I've only got two set up. You can have as many as you want. You pick the fund that you want to see. I mean, if I want to see the balance, if I want to see revenue information or expenditures, I can drill down. I can also see what's the budget, what's the balance, what's the year-to-date activity. If I drill down, I can see individual detailed transactions. So let's take a look at an example of where we did payroll and look at how it comes into the general ledger. So here's the journal. We create the journal for you when you do a payroll. There's a lot of accounting when you do a municipal payroll, breaking out all those different charges. So if I want to see the employees paid, I simply hit Show Me More, Display Source. So here's a summary of the employees that make up that journal. So I can see at a high level the information, but I still want to know more. I can actually double click and go to each individual employee's check stub all the way to that detail, even though it happened in the payroll. So very, very tightly integrated, no more journal entries, everything works together. So like I said, tons, there's more inquiries. Tables, that's kind of where you get started. You set up your chart of accounts. You can create those recurring entries. And but like I said, once you set things up, you don't spend a lot of time there. Now, typically in this setting, I don't cover purchase orders, but I do want you to know we do have it. If you need this capability, we can create purchase orders. It's going to check budget availability, but everything you tell it on the PO is going to flow to accounts payable. You're not having to rekey it in twice, so it's very easy to track, and you'll know what POs are still out there, et cetera. So easy to do. I definitely show accounts payable because this is a big part of what you do, paying those bills. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the screen where you would enter in a payable into our system. So you would just say new record. Now, what's really nice here is we give you the ability, if you've got vendors that are maybe deducting it out of your account, we can record it. You don't have to do a paper check. We even have the ability, you might have some vendors that are being paid electronically. Instead of getting a paper check, they'll get an email automatically letting them know what invoices you just paid, and then the money's in their account the next day. So we can create those files for the bank. Most of you, though, are going to do just paper checks. So if you're trying to pay the same invoice to the same vendor, we're going to stop you and say, hey, you've already paid that. We know that. Or customers love this feature, separate check. You've already entered in one invoice. Later on in the month, you get a second one, and it says I need a separate check. You just mark it separate, and we run them through the same check run. We know not to combine those. So it is smart enough to know on this invoice, it has to be a separate check. It's all in how you check that. Now, also in this example, the invoice amount is $1,500. Down below, I'm charging this off to 4 different accounts, 2 different funds, and I could do it at as many different accounts and as many different funds, and I can do one check to this vendor. The accounting knows which fund paid for what. So you do have the ability to issue one check if that's how you want to set it up. We have some that still like to do separate checking accounts for each fund. We can support that, but I would say a majority are going to more of a pooled cash where, hey, I'm going to let the accounting keep track of it and just do that one check. Now, if you do an attachment here, it's going to stay with the record. It knows, so whenever you look it up, you could attach maybe the invoice, maybe who approved it. You can attach anything in an email you can attach here. Also, if you notice this little recurring button, you're going to have a lot of bills you pay time in and time out. You just select it, make the change. Is it an invoice that you're doing it by a dollar amount and you want to allocate it by a percentage to different accounts? Let it do the math for you. Or is it always the same account, same amount? Or is it, nope, it's these 7 or 8 different accounts, different dollar amounts. But all those variables you can set up when you set up the template to pay that vendor. So it's nice and easy to do, and you can have as many as you want. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, if I've entered in that invoice and I'm over budget, I can say, give me a warning or stop. So it's totally up to you if you want that notification. Now, most of our customers, they're going to have some sort of an approval process before they pay their bills. And if that's your situation, you might want to run this report. We call it the council approval report. and you can decide how you want to sort it. I might want to sort this by fund or department or vendor. I'm going to say fund and through today. So I'm going to go gather up all those payables that I've entered in a little bit each day, sort it by fund, and I've got this nice report for the council meeting. I'm going to be able to see all the detail, who I'm paying, how much it is, the account number, the description, and on the far right-hand side, you even get how much money is available. So all of those questions can be answered before you do the check run. Now, if you have your meeting and there's a couple of changes, you can make a revision. And maybe one of the changes is, hey, we're just not going to pay this $15,000 one this month. I'm going to uncheck it and I'm going to pay it the next month. It's still sitting out there. We're just not paying it today. Or you might have a situation where they only want to do a partial payment, maybe only $4,000 out of the $13,000, and that balance will be sitting there. So you can still fine tune the list, come up with what you want, and then you can go through and actually, print those checks. Or if you're paying some of those vendors electronically, we just create a file, they get the email. Now, on any one of these options, let's say as an example, Lisa is the only one that can void a check. You can lock it down so that Lisa is the only one that can do that menu option. So if you have those requirements, you can have security by options within the software. So it is easy if you do need to void a check. Tons of reports, unlimited history. If you need to reprint checks, you can, what's still open. You're going to have history of every payment you've ever made to a vendor from the beginning of time. And then just like all the other products, lots of inquiries. I'm going to show you one that I like, and that is I want to look up a vendor, and the only thing I know is it starts with an A. I can search. We even have different statuses, those ones that are really inactive or temporary, and I can do searches or I can run reports based on status. So if I want to do the search, I can also do a search if I know, let's say the word supply is at the end of the name. I can do star supply, or the word office is in the middle. So searches are supported at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end, and that's true for all of our products. But once I find the one I want, I can very quickly see every check I've ever issued that vendor. And on the right-hand side, what invoice did it pay? Show me the accounting, and I can even see that invoice by double-clicking because there's a paperclip and the status. So think about if that's the one the auditor picks to see the detail, everything is right there. You're not having to run and check the file to see if that invoice has been filed. You've got it all right there. So once again, very easy to do. To me, the toughest part of your job is bank rec. And our cash control solution gives you an easy way to reconcile your accounting software to your bank statement. It's going to do a couple of key things for you. One is it's going to create your deposits. Let's say you need to go to the bank. You can even select from what area. Maybe just from the GL, or maybe just from the counter. So you can say, or maybe from everywhere. And what we're going to do is actually bring in the detailed transactions so that I can create a deposit slip. And it's going to create a deposit transaction so that when I do reconcile, I've got those deposits all in one place. So I simply pick the bank, and I can select all. And in this example, I could create a deposit slip, and it's going to print out all the detail and create that transaction. I might even have a situation where I need to do a split deposit. I've got a check, and it needs to go into two totally different accounts. We support that as well. And if you're a larger place, I can even pull it in by cash drawer. I'm going to pull in Mary's drawer so that I can reconcile hers and create that deposit. So, but once you do that, you're going to have one place that you're going to be able to go to reconcile all of the transactions that are on that bank statement to your accounting software. And I'll go ahead and bring up an example. So everything's here. All of those deposits you made, any check you've issued. We're even going to bring in journal entries. You recorded a journal entry for bank fees or a wire transfer. all of those charges or all of those amounts on the bank statement will appear here. Now, we do have some that want to get a little fancy, and we do have the ability to bring in a file from the bank. So the bank file is going to have, those charges and deposits and disbursements. So we'll match up what we can so that you're left with a smaller list to reconcile. After you complete the process, there's a report that's created. It's going to show you everything that's been cleared, what's still open. It's a report that your auditors are going to like. So that's one big thing that Cash Control does. You're going to also have reports. So if you need to reprint a deposit slip, you can. If you want to see what deposits were cleared for a date range, you can see that. I can even do a check register that has payables and payroll on the same register. And I also even create a bank statement as well. Now, another thing that you can do is you can look up your deposits by bank and see every deposit you've ever made. And if you have a question on any one of these, you just double click and here's the detail. So you can drill down again to that detail that we've been talking about throughout the presentation. Now, typically on the accounting side, let's go ahead and take a look at cash receipts. Let's take a look at how you can get money into the system. This is one way. Think of this as people coming into the counter, they're wanting to pay for different things, and you want to be able to receipt it and handle the money once. So in this example, you can receipt for any transaction, if it's billed or even miscellaneous things, and we can do print receipts on all of these transactions. One example that you probably have a lot is somebody comes in and wants to pay their utility bill. You can very easily, okay, they don't know their account number. You can look them up. What do they know? Do they know their name, their phone number, their address? Tell me what they know and we can search. Once you find the customer that you're looking for, we're going to bring in the balance. We're going to look at the utility, or it could be the court system, or it could be the AR or the tax billing, and bring in the balance. And if this is the correct person, if they're going to pay all of this, I accept it. I could have done a partial payment. Now, at the same time, this particular customer also wants to do, maybe something miscellaneous that you're currently doing a handwritten receipt now. You can pick which one. I'm going to say it's a permit and do a running total. We can keep adding on to this. You're still going to handle the money once. When they are ready to pay, we can, definitely, make change. If they give you, $200, we're going to make change. You might have a situation where you have check and cash on the same receipt or two checks. We can account for all of that. We even have the ability, if a customer comes in and says, hey, I know my name, I've got one check, what do I owe you? We can actually bring in all the balances by name. And that's if you start using some of our general government applications, so that we start having that one database of names and addresses. So I bring in all the balances. This guy might have multiple tax accounts, multiple utilities, multiple invoices. I can select all, or I can pick and choose which ones that I might want to pay, but I know all the balances right here. As I mentioned, the nice thing about this is no more manual receipts. You handle the money once. All the payments we're going to send to utilities or tax or courts, so you don't have to go tell those applications. And any miscellaneous transaction, we're going to create a journal to the accounting system. We also can very easily give you a report for any date range. In this example, let's say the auditor wants to know everything you receipted, last year, from this date to that date, or maybe one day 10 years ago. So I can pick any date range and pull everything that was receipted, but I can sort it a lot of different ways. I could sort it by receipt number. I might want to see it by, check, cash, credit card, or subsystem, or account number, or even the GL account number. I can pull this report and see what was receipted, get those subtotals, and know how much went where. So it's easy to get that information. I can also, for any customer, reprint a receipt. If they come in and they know their name, the date they were in, the dollar amount, lots of ways to reprint that receipt. Now, as I mentioned, payments at the counter is one way to get money into all of our different products. We also have a lot of customers that actually do payments on their website. And so we give you the ability to accept payments on your website, and you can do credit cards, and you're not the merchant. You get all of your money, and everything is integrated. So in this example I'm going to walk you through now is I'm going to pretend like I'm one of your customers. I signed up to get my utility bill emailed, or maybe my invoice emailed, and I clicked on the link and it takes me to your portal. It's going to have your city, your logo, and when I log in, I'm going to be able to see all of my accounts. So if I've got multiple utility accounts, I can see it. I can see every bill that has been uploaded. I've only uploaded one, but if I've got 10, 12, 20, I can see them all. I can view them, or I could print them. So if I want to just take a look at this, here is essentially what you mailed them in the mail. This is an example. So if I'm one of your customers that signed up to get their bill automatically drafted, I'm a perfect candidate to get it emailed. I can also pay that right now. The balance is sitting there, and I'm able to pay with any credit card, but you get 100% of the amount due. So you're getting all your money, 100% of that. It's going to calculate a convenience fee. So the customer pays the convenience, but you get 100% of yours. You can even have customers, they didn't sign up to get their bill emailed, but they can still go to your website and make a payment. And when they come in, they're going to see these different buttons on what you want to accept payments for. It may only be utilities, or it may be courts and utilities. It's totally up to you. The difference is they're going to have to key in their account number. And so I'm going to key one in. I'm going to have to key in how much I want to pay. So in this example, the bill was $77. It calculated that convenience fee, which is 3% plus 35 cents. They have to accept it, but any and all payments that you do on your website are integrated, so you're not keying those in. You get your money the next day, and you're not the merchant. So it gives you an easy way to say yes to credit cards. So kind of getting back down to the financials. Now, typically in this setting, I don't cover payroll. We can set up a separate time if you want to take a look at this. I just want to briefly let you know that it handles unlimited deductions, different pay types, benefits. It accrues as many different types of leave and maintains the balance. It does a nice job of tracking, if employees' pay is maybe allocated by percentages to different funds, or maybe it's allocated based on the number of hours they work, 8 hours in the water fund, 6 hours in the sewer fund. So we can handle those different scenarios, but all of that accounting is tightly integrated. Now, before I jump over to utilities, are there any questions on the financials? And as I mentioned, you can chat with me or take yourself off mute, but I'll also stay on at the end if you have any questions. If not, we can jump over to utilities and take a look at that. And then the last thing, we'll look at the report designer. So utility billing, the look and feel is identical. You're going to have the same tabs. Let's take a quick look at what we can track on your customers. So we allow you to have, unlimited, metered, non-metered, non-recurring. Here's that same search that we had at the counter. What do you know? I can look up a customer if I know the meter ID, the property ID, the phone number, the address, lots of different combinations. So you don't have to memorize any account numbers. And I'm going to actually bring up, let's see here, we'll look at Lucy. Now, you're going to have essentially one screen where everything is set up. As I mentioned earlier, we're a true cycle billing. You can have multiple cycles. Even if you have one cycle, we handle those customers that move in or move out mid-cycle. We can prorate those non-meter charges automatically if that's your rule. We can also have different class codes. This is a way you can pull out reports based on consumption or balances, but it's your code. You can have as many as you want and you can keep adding. We also have different statuses. We have a lot of customers that use our integrated service order where we can automatically create service orders based on status. I've got a new customer, go get the reading. I have a transfer, get the reading, or a final. But you can do service orders for any event and we tie it to the customer. So we'll look at that later on, but we can do those automatically. You can have other statuses like turn it on and off in the same billing period. You can have a status of inactive but keep billing. Or maybe somebody skipped town, you can have an inactive don't bill, but if they ever come back, you know they owe you money, the balance is sitting there. And then you can even have a status of transfer. So if somebody does move from Main Street to Elm Street, we move the balance and the deposit to the new address. So we move the money so that you're not having to manually do that. And then we can track vacants. You're still reading the property and you want to know, you want to be proactive. Is there any consumption? There shouldn't be. So I can give you those type reports. Now, if you notice down here under the customer tab, I'm assuming they own the property and they're the occupant. It's the same person. If you've got those multiple people at this one address, we can track it. Here's an example where I'm going to uncheck this box and I'm going to have the owner, which is really the renter, and then I can also track the owner. So in that example, the renter gets the bill, but the owner can be notified. They can send them a copy of the bill or the delinquent notice. Or you might have a situation that's in reverse where the owner is getting the bill, but you still want to know who lives there. And once again, they could get copies if you wanted to. Or you might even have a different situation where somebody completely outside of town gets the bill, they're responsible, owners and occupants, and everybody can get a copy. So it's really nice for those rental properties where you're always changing it back and forth from owner to occupant. Now, we can also have primary address, secondary addresses. Down here, you can have customers sign up to get their bill emailed versus mailed. They go to your website, they sign up, it's all interactive. It unchecks paper, checks E, so that going forward, we're not printing that bill. And it stores their email address. You can have customers that get their payments drafted so that they're not having to send you a check each month. We just create that batch. And then the bank moves the money from their account to your account, but you're not creating payments for those guys. It's all electronic. And that's just another way to get payments in. You can also track what metered services do they have. I've got some accounts that bill for electric, gas, and water all on the same bill. A lot of them bill water only, but you might have 20 water meters at this one address. It's unlimited. We track the location of the meter, the book and route. We work with a long list of automated reading systems so that you don't have to key those readings in. We have some that still key them in. It's totally up to you. We have unlimited, what we call non-meter charges. You might have sewer, but it's based on water consumption, or maybe garbage and it's not based on anything, except for the number of trash cans they have. We even have the ability to bill a charge over time. We call that a declining balance bill. An example might be somebody owes you $1,000 and you want to bill $25 each month until they hit the 1,000. It stops automatically. At any point, you know how much is left to bill. And then we have all those non-recurring, unlimited. You might have a turn-on fee, a turn-off fee, a bad check fee. You can have as many different fees. We can bill for it, but we track all the accounting. You can have multiple deposits. You can refund deposits when they're finaled. You can refund deposits based on good payment history. Totally up to you. We can have user definable fields, and we can use these fields with the report designer. We can keep track of notes. We do actions. We do some automatic ones. If somebody gives you a bad check, we create an action. You can have a warning when they come in at the counter. When you get a check in the mail, no more checks. We can also automatically create an action if they're disconnected or if they're on your extension list. But you can create your own codes to do certain things. You've got unlimited text to comment on that and unlimited text to reference that. So a really good place to keep specific type notes for that one customer. And then we have attachments. You might want to take a picture of the meter. It was damaged, or maybe they sent you a letter, you sent them a letter. All those things can be attached, but this is where you're going to maintain information on that customer. Now, if you get a call, you can actually go right to their inquiry right here. And on one screen, you're going to have literally everything about that customer, all the billing history, all the payment history, the consumption history, payments, service orders, everything here in one place. You can get to what's their balance. It even ages their balance. If the customer has a question on a certain bill, you can go to billing history and you can scroll and see every billing you've ever done. You can keep scrolling and see a breakdown for the different charges, the balance. But you can also go to any one of these and reprint that bill. It could be 10 years ago. I can reprint the bill. I have the detail. Now, you probably get very specific questions, so you can actually come here to transactions, and maybe one of the questions is, why is my bill so expensive? So you can look at each individual metered service. In this example, I have just water, but I can see every time water was billed, when it was billed, how much it was, the balance. I know the reading. I know if it was an actual or an estimate reading, and I know the consumption. So I can pull out, what looks high. They might even have a question on a certain payment. So you can zip down here and go to payments, look at any one of these, and drill down and see, well, how did you apply that $100 payment? They can see the breakdown. You can even print their history. And if you print their history, you can do it for any date range. And it's going to literally show every transaction, any payments, any penalties, any adjustments, everything for whatever point in time you want to see it for. So all here on one screen. Last but not least, you can get to their service orders. So any service request tied to this customer shows up here. You've got summary information, but if you need to know more, you can drill down and actually go to the screen that you entered it in on. Who called? What did they tell you? What was the problem? What did your guys do? So you've got the whole history of this call right here on one screen. And our goal is on one screen to be able to answer all the questions. Now, one other thing you can do is you can display the map. We can pick like the billing address, the service address, and we're going to take you to your preference, either Google Maps or Yahoo Maps, to that particular property. So this is where you're maintaining information on your customers. Other things that you might do on a daily basis, you have the ability, if you need to change out a meter, I can do that mid-cycle, and I know there's consumption on both, and I'm going to bill for both. If you're still keying in your readings, we have a fast, easy way to do that. We also have interfaces to a very long list of automated reading solutions. So very long list, let us know what you're using, and you would just turn it on so that we create the file in the correct format for all those different units so that you're not having to key in those readings. So we can do that. Either way, if you're entering in readings and you've got one that's high or missing, high or low actually, you're going to know those questionable ones. You can run that. You can even run a report for your vacant properties to see if there's any consumption. Once again, you can be proactive. So lots of ways to help you automate that process. We've talked a lot about payments. We've talked about payments at the counter, payments on your website, payments being drafted, but my guess is you still get a lot of checks in the mail. We can easily batch in those checks, and we have an easy process. So if I've got 20 checks, I can even print a barcode on that bill and zap it in and not even type in the account number. If I know what I type it in, I can look it up here. So, but once you have the account number, it's going to assume it's a check because that's how I've set it up. You would simply type in the check number, and that's probably all you would do on this. However, we know they don't always do it correctly. So if they pay $150 thinking they're doing you a favor, rounding up, we handle that credit. Or maybe they only paid $140. That last service is short, but it does it automatically for you so that it can automatically um, apply that based on what rule you've set up. And we even have a handful of customers that allow checks to be dropped off at the bank. We can bring in a bank file, or if you've got customers doing online banking at their account, I can bring in a file from the bank. So once again, you're not having to key those in. Now, all of the payments on your website, you're just going to run this menu option. Grab the payments from the last time you posted. So once you post that, the next business day, you get a direct deposit for your money. But all the payments are applied to the customer so that you don't have to key those in. We also have a very easy way to reverse a payment. So if a customer does, maybe a check bounce, I simply type in the account number. I'm going to just pick which, transaction I want to reverse. So I'll have all of them here. And in one step, we're going to put the charge back out there. And because this is an NSF, I'm going to hit them for $35 and create an action. It was a bad check so that I can now get a warning. And I determine how long that warning is in effect. No more checks for this guy. And I can also print a journal because we're going to tell the accounting system that you reverse this. So that's another benefit of having these integrated solutions so that you don't have to worry about reversing something over here and telling something over there. They all work together. Now, under periodic, this is where you're going to come to once a month to do your billing process and your delinquent process. We've got a feature that I really like, and it allows you to, once again, I could do a billing every day. I've got finals. I don't have to wait until a certain time of the month. So if I need to do an off-cycle billing, I can do that. We're going to prorate those non-meter charges. Or I might want to do my normal billing. But I do have the ability, if I've got 1,000 customers in my normal group and I've got a problem with 2, I can pull out those 2, bill the 2 on Friday, and get the 99% out today. So I can even pull people out of our normal group. I'm not forced to doing them all at the same time. So that's really a stress reliever because you can get the 99% in the mail. So once you have your group, then you can run the edits. Are there any issues? Do I have any missing readings? Or anything out of norm? Then I calculate. You're going to have a billing journal so you can see, okay, this all looks good. No, nothing out of the ordinary. And if that's all good, you hit print the bills. Now, keep in mind, if you've got 50 customers that have signed up to get their bill emailed, we know don't print those. So, you're not going to have to do that. As soon as you post, those 50 will get an email automatically, and they can immediately go see their bill on the website. We do give you the option to do a laser postcard or a laser statement. We even have customers that have decided it's cheaper for us to print the bills than it is for them internally. So what they've done is they've outsourced it. You're calling one vendor, so Central Square's the one number. They can also go to the website and track their print job, and it's cheaper, and it doesn't even include your labor. Where it's cheaper by looking at just the hard costs, the postage, the paper, the toner, and your labor. You're able to do other things, and it's not even calculated because we're able to pass on a better postage rate because we group multiple customers together to get that better rate. So if you're interested, you can even outsource it, and once again, you're calling one vendor. If you do delinquents, we can do a postcard or a letter. Same thing on disconnects. We can even automatically create those charges, and delinquents and disconnects, you can have a minimum threshold. If they owe you $1, you may not want to send that notice out. So you've got those capabilities. So a very nice job of keeping track of who owes you. But like I said, lots of features, tons of reports. We're going to be able to give you a balance for any date range. So it doesn't have to be today. So if I want to go back 6 months ago, I can give you that balance. I've got reports on consumption for any date range. I can pull out individual charges and see. So tons and tons of reports. I know I'm kind of running short on time here, but lots of reports. We've looked at the inquiries. I'm just going to show you a couple more things before we get to the report designer, and that is kind of circling back to the beginning of the presentation of the benefits of, wouldn't it be nice to have one database of names and addresses? So here's an example where you can look up, if you know somebody's name, you can see everything about that person. So as you start using other areas and automating other areas on one screen, I can see in this example, these are all the tax accounts this customer has. I can see how many code violations this customer has, or licenses, or building permits, or cemetery plots, or utilities, even an invoice. So we pull it all together. You've got one screen that you can answer all the questions. We also have the capability to see the exact same information, but by property. What's happened at this property? Who owns it? Have there been any code violations? What utility account is there? Has there been a permit there? So a lot of our customers actually have us bring in information from the county of all their properties, everybody that lives in their community, so that you have in your database information on the property. You even have like the legal description, information on the structure, who owns it. So I know who to send the letter to, but you also know what transactions have happened at that property. So those are things you can add at any point. They all work together, and that's kind of part of our general government product. And then last but not least, I want to spend the next 5 minutes just showing you the report designer. And think of this as a tool that you can use to create any kind of report. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. You're going to have a dashboard. These are reports. It comes with some reports, but primarily they're going to be your reports. You're going to have the ability to be able to search. Show me all the reports on vendor. Oh, here they are. Or you can have your favorites. They're at the top. I'm going to show you a couple of reports that we've used this tool to create reports. One is this example where we've added drill down in a report. You're able to see what's behind the door in a report like we do in our inquiries. You can add filters so that you can do certain date ranges or, range of employees or customers. But here's an example. It's a vendor report. Now, obviously, you can have any type of font. You can put your logo there. But when you see this little icon in a report, you can push it and see what's behind the door. Show me the journal that makes up this number. So you can get to detail because we have the detail in the software. You can also create any kind of file from the reports you create. So that's a standard menu option. You can also, you can search words in the report. You may have a board that likes to see visually. They want to see charts and graphs instead of a bunch of numbers. And here's an example where we use this tool to create a graphical comparison on departments to your funds. And we'll create this and take a quick look at it. So here I have my different departments. I've got budget and actual, but I can see graphically how they're doing, budget versus actual. Different ways. So you could even have like graphs at the bottom. There's things like that you can do. But like I said, those are ones that we've created with this tool just to give you an idea if you wanted to add a report or create your own. Primarily, we are giving you all the data fields in the system. So you could describe it, you pick which product you want to report on, and then I'm going to look at employee information. And in just a second, you're going to have a blank screen. So, it's a canvas that you can, create any kind of picture that you want. And we're going to give you access to every field in this example in the payroll product. So over here on the right-hand side, these are all the fields, payables, totals, leave, all those fields that you track in payroll on the employer right here. You could drag a picture box over here and put your logo. You could do the name of the report here. You just type in what you want it to be. But we're going to give you the ability to, if you want to drag and drop fields over, and you could select multiple at the same time. But if you need a report that has the employee name, maybe their email address, maybe their classification, and, maybe it's something simple that you just need to know their, year-to-date payroll information. So I could do year-to-date gross pay if I wanted to see that information. Oh, here it is, pay. No, year-to-date total. Or I could have year-to-date gross. So you've got all the data fields. You can expand there. Now, granted, you would probably want to do like, a label here. This is going to, you would type in name, you would type in email, classification, but this could be a report or this could be a file. It could be something that simple or something more complex. But over here on the left-hand side, you can do charts and graphs and sparkle lines. You can even add sorts. Maybe you've got a lot of employees and you want to sort this by department. But you can, preview it, you can run it, you can play with it. So you can do simple reports or you can do very complex reports. But the key is, for your financials and the utility billing, we're giving you access literally to all those fields so that you can create reports on fields that are important to you. So it just gives us a way to say yes to any of those different types of reports. And like I said, we can work with you if you want us to do them as a custom. It's cheaper for us to use this tool than it is to do it from scratch, or we offer training so that you could do your own. So I'm going to open it up to see if anybody has any questions, and I wanted to also give you my contact information. So if there's any questions on anything that we offer, please let me know. We've been doing this for over 40 years. We've got over 1,000 customers all over North America. And if you want to see more, if you need a quote on anything you've seen today, we'd be happy to provide that to you. Well, I certainly thank you for your time today.